Resilience is very different from the usual policy planning or public management planning because it requires a much more intricate, systematic effort because resilience by itself requires an all-sector approach, which means that all ministries, for instance, in a given country have to work together very closely and more closely than they usually do. From what we know, resilience planning, if it's supposed to be effective, requires a governance model that is very inclusive. I mentioned the term all-society approach. So it cannot be left with government, elected officials, parliaments, leaders, ministries alone. On the other hand, it comes with new ethical challenges because we are being tracked and watched all the time. My toaster actually is sending private data to KitchenAid, for instance, which is a weird thing to think about. So yes, we need them for sure, but based on a new social contract and clear ethical foundations.
Resilience is just one ingredient in good governance. It's related to but distinct from agility or agile responses. It's distinct from but related to innovation. It's related to but distinct from strategy. So you've really got a cluster or a family of different characteristics that make for good governance. So resilience is just one. I don't think it's going to go away, whatever it may be called, because we're in a world, and that's what the Doha Forum, I think, is tapping into. We're in a world for the foreseeable future of turbulence, shock, instability, uncertainty. And if that's the kind of context within which governments are operating, they're going to have to figure out ways of being able to respond effectively with some degree of stability, and not just as governments, but as societies. And that means being able to harness the private sector, civil society organizations, and that translates into, again, ingredients like trust and accountability. So whatever we end up calling it in the next 10 years, there may be a new concept, but I think the reality is going to remain with us. Government bureaucracies do have a certain kind of DNA, and it's all for good reasons. I mean, I'm not putting that point in a negative or critical way. Governments do have responsibilities in terms of law, order, legal requirements. So there's a drag coefficient that's characteristic of government bureaucracies that will never go away. So the trick is trying to figure out ways in which to inject these other ingredients that are not of the same DNA, like innovation, enterprise, entrepreneurship, agility, resilience. And government departments and agencies can do it, but they need to balance the requirements that come on one side of bureaucratic stability with the new requirements or new demands that come from innovation and entrepreneurship and this kind of resilience notion. So they can do it, and there are lots of examples, but there are different formulas. So think of it as perhaps those Russian Matryoshka dolls. You'll have an outer casing of bureaucratic rigidity or plasticity, let's put it that way, but inside you'll have skunk works or labs or micro enterprises that are still within the public context, but that have ways of responding that are more flexible. So resilience is a concept, agility is a concept, strategy is a concept, and you can say that they're all wonderful things and governments should have them. So the trick is to try to figure out ways in which that can be actualized and put into practice. There's been an evolution in terms of thinking about how to embed resilience, agility into institutional structures within government.